I will make a mountain out of a little tiny hill. I will overwhelm myself with insecurity about your being near my being if I am focused on our differences and ignoring our similarities.
2, 1, 0.
Hi, welcome to Stellar Life Podcast. It's so nice to have you here. Thank you so much for being here and listening to our show. Today's show is very special. Today I'm interviewing Guru Singh. He is a third-generation yoga master with a rich background in several forms with a primary focus on Kundalini and Humanology. He is a published author, world-class musician, and an artist. He provides his training through his 2 schools, Kundalini University and 13 Moons. This conversation was just so beautiful and inspiring. He is a very, extremely wise man and very versatile. And I can just tell you that at the end of the interview, I felt like I was wrapped in a bubble of pink love. He's so kind and so very inspiring, and I'm sure that you will get so inspired from this conversation as well. We talked about how to become more in unity with one another, how to increase love, gratitude, forgiveness, how to heal ourselves, and also how to raise our children in a more beautiful way. And now, without further ado, on to the show. Hello, Guru Singh, and welcome to Stellar Life Podcast. It's such an honor having you on the show. Thank you so much for being here.
My pleasure and a real honor.
Before we begin, can you share a little bit about your heritage and your passion?
Well, I'll start with my passion. My passion is to uplift life. And that includes all forms of life, whether it's having beautiful gardens, having beautiful mineral areas, having beautiful animals, being graceful with all of the animals of the world, and of course, being very compassionate and understanding with human beings. And so that is my mission, that is my purpose. And I work with that through a variety of technologies, which are in fact science, not philosophy. Kundalini yoga, meditation. I'm a musician, I'm a recording musician, so I work a lot with music, with mantra, with sound. I'm also an artist, so I use a lot of graphics in my teaching. And I look forward to enabling people not to be similar to me, but to be the best version of themselves that they can possibly be. And so I use a technology that is thousands of years old, so it's been proven over time to have a truly working effect. And it's meditation, it's yoga, it's movement, it's breathing, it's helping us to become better at what we do and who we are. And so that is kind of a brief sketch of what I do, or why I do it and what I do. And the how I do is that I have a university called Kundalini University, in which we are training people to become masters of themselves, but also a mastery of Kundalini yoga in a 200-hour training. And then we have a platform called the 13 Moons, in which we're building an ever-growing, and it's truly growing, community of people who, like yourselves, your husband, my wife, myself, all of the people around us that we consider close to us, are all desiring that community of like-minded and like-hearted people.
Right.
So that is how we are working with it.
That's beautiful. Yeah. I love animals as well.
Yeah.
And I love nature. And I just this year I started planting just for fun. And I think with like 5 days ago, I discovered 3 watermelons. Yay! It's really cute.
End of season fruit, right?
Yeah, well, we're in
Watermelon.
Florida. Yeah,
Oh,
end
okay,
of
so
season.
you
We're
have
in Florida.
continuous season.
Yeah, it's a little better. It's not the season, but it happened. So that was a blessing. I love that. I think more people need to connect to nature and the earth and animals. I think that it actually really helps elevating our vibration and our energy. When you teach Kundalini yoga, for people that don't know what Kundalini yoga, or even for me, like, I always get quite vague description of what Kundalini yoga is, because I think it's something that you need to experience. But maybe you can teach me a little bit about it.
Kundalini yoga is called the yoga of awareness because it works with the physical body, the emotional body, and the mental bodies. And it works with exercise, with breathing, with sound and mantra, with meditation. And what we're able to do within a very simple practice over a very short period of time is we're able to get results so that people actually begin to taste better, taste things more articulately, smell things more accurately. And by the way, taste and smell are our first sensations of the people around us. Although we don't think of it that way, we think of how they look or how they sound. No, we're still committed to our very ancient animal natures. And so we get a scent of who it is that we're with. And by the way, that is one of the things that gets eliminated from this digital world. But
Yes.
it is if you're very sensitive, you are able to to put together the sense of smell and taste just from the experience you're having visually and auditorially. But what this means is that Kundalini Yoga enhances your senses from the most primary senses on up through all 5 senses. And then it adds to that a more intuitive relationship, which are the senses beyond the 5 very obvious ones. When you add these things together and do these exercises and these breathing processes and these meditations and these sounds, mantras, what you end up with is you end up with a life that is much more aware. And for that reason, Kundalini Yoga is called the yoga of awareness. And when you're more aware, the beauty of that is that not only do you experience the components of your environment that are most obvious, but you also begin to view the components in your environment, the people, places, things, that aren't so obvious. And oftentimes hidden down inside those not so obvious areas are some of the most profound opportunities, reasons for people to get together, reasons for people to connect and communicate, reasons to go out into nature, ways in which your own healing and the healing of others can take place. So all of this is really part of the Kundalini experience.
So if someone does not have that awareness of their energy and the Kundalini, like what's life like without it? Like what do people, like, can people get out of depression or out of feeling very low using that energy, or even heal their bodies through Kundalini Yoga?
Yes. In direct answer to your question, if people are not aware of these higher frequencies, then they are dominated by, let's say the obvious, by the lower frequencies. And in the lower frequencies are the fears the distrusts,
Mm-hmm.
the uncertainties, and all of those parts of life, which are there for all of us, if we so choose, but are dominating a person's life when they are not aware of the higher frequencies. There's two parts of the human nervous system. One is called, of the central nervous system, one is called sympathetic, and that is literally sympathetic. Whatever acts, I react.
Mm-hmm.
Then there is the parasympathetic, and the parasympathetic is whatever acts, I observe. And then after observation, and it all happens very quickly, but after observation, I make a determination as to how I am going to respond, rather than that knee-jerk reaction of the sympathetic nervous system. Well, the parasympathetic nervous system doesn't even engage in a person's life if they're operating in the lower emotional frequencies of fear and jealousy and rage and anger and doubt and
It's all
frustration,
sympathetic all
etc.
day long, and lots of stress.
All day long. Act, react, act, react, act, react. And so when that is your life, the thought is, I must control my outside environment in order to have a reasonable experience.
Right.
But when the parasympathetic nervous system is engaged through these practices, one of which is Kundalini yoga and meditation, then all of a sudden, instead of having to control your environment in order to have a reasonable experience, you realize that if you are now in control of your own systems, and you can find your way through the experience of your environment in order to locate that really uplifting and really solid experience in your life.
Mm-hmm.
So that is the difference. The difference between a person who is very aware and a person who is just operating in the act-react state.
Right. I feel that in the last 2.5 years, a lot of people became super stressful and reactive,
Mm-hmm.
and that creates a lot of division.
Mm-hmm.
You know, Democrats versus Republicans, people who took the shot versus people who didn't.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of fear and a lot of separation. So what can we do within ourselves to let go of the illusion of the external environment and look into people's hearts and connect on that level?
Right. Our differences are very small. Our similarities are extremely large. But when my sympathetic nervous system is controlling my psyche, then I'm not looking for our similarities. I'm looking for what is wrong. I'm looking for the danger points. And I will, following the old adage, I will make a mountain out of a little tiny hill. I will overwhelm myself with insecurity about your being near my being if I am focused on our differences and ignoring our similarities. So, under the rule of the sympathetic nervous system, the act, the fight and flight, the act and react, I'm going to be on the lookout for danger points. So if you and I meet, I've never met you before, if you and I meet, my system, not even in my conscious, but in my subconscious, immediately starts looking for, okay, what's wrong with this person? Why should I be around this person? Should I trust this person? Who is this person? How's this person trying to take advantage of me? And I will get that story going to such a degree that I will start hallucinating on the actual event of you and I having a conversation, and I will interpret the things that you're saying, and I will interpret the ways in which you're moving and acting and looking at me as being derogatory, as being dangerous. And that is why we have this incredible political divisiveness. We have this incredible human divisiveness around, orientation, sexual orientations, genders, skin colors, etc., etc. All of these things are just blown out of proportion by the internal nervous system making a hallucination out of an impression. And that impression has not allowed for our commonness to come in, because if I'm going to be safe around you, I don't want to be letting down my guard.
Right.
So I'm going to keep my guard up by noticing our differences. And that is very hard to intellectually argue with, because it's not about words. It's literally pre-verbal signals coming into the brain and the emotional body that are indicating, I'm in trouble, I'm in danger, right?
So what can we do if it's not, from what I understood, it's not that logical? It just happened, it's like an instinct, right? So
we have to reach the reachable and teach the teachable.
I like that.
And those will then influence the ones around them, and then the ones around them will influence the ones around them. This is not an election cycle process. This is a 5, 10, 15 year, maybe even longer, but I think it's about a 15-year process of people like yourself and your husband reaching to those around you and those around you online, me doing the same, and then those people reaching to their circle of influence, and then theirs, and then theirs, and then theirs. And as it goes out further and further, we end up becoming closer and closer in our ability to see that we're actually all wanting the exact same things. Every animal wants the exact same things. Genetically, it's all about the reproduction of the DNA. Socially, it's all about having a circle of friends in which I can be myself. And then, of course, you have the physical, which is I need my food and I need my shelter. I need to be able to get around, in different, ways. That, and then, of course, after all of that is taken care of, then I need to be in some way entertained, right? I need to travel, I need to see new places, I need to meet new people, I need to go to a movie, I need to have a good meal, whatever that entertainment might be. But if we are able to give each other that sense of security by igniting in each other that sense of awareness, we're going to stop having so much divisiveness.
Yes.
And it's going to take time.
Yes, and I think it starts with us.
Yep.
You say we want to be ourselves within a circle of friends that accept us just the way we are. Yeah. It's just that for a lot of people, myself included, sometimes it's hard to be myself. I feel like throughout my life, I don't know, maybe because I'm an Aries, I have a tendency to be somewhat a chameleon, like adapt to the environment. When I lived in Japan, I almost looked Japanese. Like it's almost like my face started looking Japanese-like. I came here and I studied acting, and I wanted to fit in, and I started dressing down. I used to dress more crazy and Japanese fashion style, and then I started just t-shirts and sweats, and I feel like I lost myself to the degree that I'm still to this day, I'm working on finding my true expression. I'm still experimenting. I'm still in the process of like, who am I? Like, what is my true expression? And there is this, am I safe to be me?
Mm-hmm. Well, then you have to consider what is the cost of being unsafe. And I'm not talking about being physically unsafe, okay?
Mm-hmm.
Because what we're talking about here is being emotionally and mentally, psychically and emotionally safe. So what is the cost of being unsafe? I would first consider, because otherwise you're just going to be chasing the illusion,
Mm-hmm.
experimenting here and experimenting there, and maybe you land on a spot where you feel like this is who I am.
Right.
However, what if you were to do the reverse
Mm-hmm.
and begin to understand, okay, what is the cost of being psychically unsafe? What is the cost of being emotionally unsafe? I mean, the real cost, not the perceived cost.
Can you elaborate on the real cost versus the perceived cost?
Yeah, the perceived cost is what we fear.
Mm.
The real cost is what we experience when we allow an emotional sensation to sit with us long enough to come to its conclusion. Because normally what we do is we feel an emotional sensation, and if it's uncomfortable,
Mm-hmm.
we avoid it. We do something to change it. We do something to distract ourselves so that we're not experiencing it.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, even pharmaceuticals are doing just that. They're giving you another experience, but they're actually not healing the experience that is taking place.
No, they don't.
They're giving you another dominant experience, which overrides. It's like if you were to be listening to a symphony orchestra and all of a sudden 5 Harley Davidson motorcycles came into the concert hall full blast. You would not be able to hear the symphony, even though the symphony is still playing.
Right, yes.
And so the dominant nature of our lower frequency emotions, the fears and the rages and all of these things, which are the ones that come up when we're feeling unsafe emotionally or unsafe psychically, we begin to be angry about this, or we become fearful of that, or we become frustrated. All of these components, which can be used as tools, but if they're using us as a punching bag, then they're not doing us any value. And so what I'm saying is that the real cost of the lack of safety, the lack of emotional safety, is literally minimal. Minimal. And what ends up happening is that if we allow that lack of safety, that embarrassment, that sensation that is happening, if we allow it to take place for long enough, it begins to resolve and it begins to dissolve. And once it dissolves, the base coat of emotions is joy. The base coat of physiology is ease. And the base coat of our mental state is knowing. We actually know everything if we allow ourselves to know it. Because we are like that computer that's attached to the internet. That computer, even though not all of the information is on that computer, it has access to the entire internet. And it can find all the information it needs. And we are exactly the same. Everything that has been invented outside of us exists inside of us.
Yes, that's beautiful.
Even the wheel.
Yeah,
The
really.
wheel exists outside of us. The wheel exists inside of us. The capillaries in parts of our bodies are so tiny that all of the blood cells, which are like tiny little wheels, they're like tiny little wafers, they all line up and they roll through the capillaries. That's where the wheel started, right? everything on the outside is on the inside.
Yeah. As above, so below.
Exactly.
Yes. So how do we get to a place of self-mastery where we're not afraid of rejection and we don't try to fit in or let the external environment affect us?
By facing the fear of rejection and being unimpressed. By facing the fear of embarrassment and being unintimidated. Because everyone, particularly those of us who are being our true self, we still face the same uncertainties. We're just not impressed by them.
Okay, cool.
We're not intimidated by them. In other words, in order to be a sage, in order to be a person of awareness, you also have to be a warrior.
Yes.
And that's why the Tibetan thangkas, all of that incredible art that comes through the silk, right, that they hang on the walls in the temples. They always have, the beautiful in the center, the flowers and the goddess and gods and different animals and creatures that are all so beautiful. And then around it, they've got all of those like gargoyles, right? And those monsters. We have to be able to experience both with equal joy.
What makes a warrior?
What makes a warrior? Courage. And cor is the French word for heart. Le corps. Corps is the French word for heart. And the heart is made up of 3 base emotions: hope, willingness, and courage. Once the heart gives you hope, with hope you're willing to take action. Once you're willing to take action, you get a reaction. Some of it's good, some of it's bad. Then you have to have the courage to move through the reaction.
Well, I like seeing myself as a warrior as well. I'm both. I'm everything. I'm a warrior, and I'm very weak, and I'm strong, and I'm not strong. I'm just everything. And within that, I'm looking for power, and within power, I'm looking for love, and gentle power. It's very interesting.
In my world, the world of the ancients, the definition of love was the joy that is found in enjoying another's joy. When I feel the joy of enjoying my wife's joy, I feel that. When I feel the joy of enjoying my children and my grandchildren's joy, I feel that. And then take it outside my family. When I experience the joy of enjoying your joy, or your husband's joy, or my friend over here's joy, or somebody else's joy, then I have experienced love. And by the way, love is not something that I have to give or to take. Love is the ocean in which life exists. And it's only in that incredible sensation, that vulnerable condition of joy.
I love that.
Of enjoying.
Oh, I love that so much.
That I can actually experience the ocean of love that surrounds us all. I gotta get open. I gotta get vulnerable. I gotta have no guards up. Because if I have any guards up,
you won't be able to get it.
I
Yeah,
won't be able to sense it whatsoever.
Yes, yes. One of the things that bring me a lot of joy is my little one. I have a 3-year-old, and yeah, he's so cute. Yeah, he's full of joy, and there is like love that, like, I've never experienced a love like that. I totally love and in love with my husband, and with my son, it's something that is just different. I don't know, maybe because his cells are physically in my body and vice versa.
Yeah.
It's such a deep, beautiful connection, and I homeschool him at a farm, and I wondered, I know we're shifting gears here, but what do you see, how do you see the future of education, and how can we be more for our children, especially in this crazy world where there's so much going on so fast, and like my upbringing, his upbringing are so totally different. How can I be there for him and make his future brighter, and allow him to be the person that he is while doing it, and not try to make him something that I want him to be? It's a loaded question with tons of questions in it, so take your time.
Actually, I love that question, because that question is really primarily important. First of all, the majority of what we call education is not education in today's world. It's really job training. We're training individuals to be able to do certain tasks so that they can get certain jobs, so that they can have certain lifestyles. But that's not really education. I am a huge, huge fan of homeschooling, because I think that there is a relationship between parents and children that is not only can be very educational, but it's extremely intuitive. And what you do in that educational process is that you intuit what it is that your own child needs at the particular times that you're in communication with them. And when a child's needs are being met, they are wide open. When their psycho-emotional needs, physical needs too, of course, but we're talking about education here, but so that when the psycho-emotional needs are being met, the child becomes a sponge and absorbs all of the information. And this is why children at public schools right now are not learning a whole lot, because they are so afraid of what might happen. Could there be a disaster, a crazy violent disaster this day in school? Could there be? And then the educational system is saying we've got to have we got to weed out the dumb ones and accelerate the smart ones, right? And so they're constantly testing. Education is not about testing, it's about teaching.
Yes.
And testing is not going to test how well the student is learning. It's literally going to test how well the teacher is teaching.
Oh, wow.
Because if the teacher is
So
teaching
profound.
well, the student is going to find it easy to learn.
Yes.
But teachers usually create these gymnastics operations that are trying to get the child to exert and find it difficult, because they feel that if the child finds it so difficult to learn in my classroom, they'll think that I'm really an advanced teacher. Well, that is nonsense. The advanced teacher is the teacher who allows the child to feel completely safe, vulnerable, and then just absorbs the information. And I'll tell you, we in public schools, or in all schools, private schools too, but a child learns how to walk and talk, the two most profound things that we use throughout our life. And they learn it from their parents and on their own in the first 5 years of life. And then after the first 4 or 5 years of life, they go into a school and they're told to sit down and be quiet.
Okay. Yes.
Well, that's totally counterintuitive. Why should they sit down? They're a young child.
So
they
much
should
energy.
be active. They will probably learn if they're more active.
Mm-hmm.
And to be quiet. And then, of course,
Be a
at
good
your
boy
age,
and a
my
good
age,
girl.
your husband's age, my wife's age,
Yeah.
we have to hide our work from each other. But the moment we graduate and go out into the world, the whole world is about sharing your work.
Huh.
So why aren't we teaching children how to share their work in school and come up with answers collectively? Because that's what they're going to have to use when they go out into the business world,
Right.
go out into the professional world. They're going to have to learn to work with people.
What are some topics that you think are a must for this generation?
Love.
Mm.
And that can start happening with little animals.
Yes.
Love. Sharing important things. Like sharing the answers on a test. Take a test and share the answers. And then when that comes, trust. Do I trust your answers more than I trust mine? Well, let's try it out. And also giving rewards for wrong answers.
Oh, that's
because
so
wrong
lovely.
answers demonstrate that the student was courageous enough to make an attempt at something they didn't know for sure.
Right. Yeah, you know what? Because we, so the way we do it, we are 12 moms that are doing homeschooling, and we bring our kids to this farm together, and we are actually with them for 4 hours a day. And but for 2 days a week, we bring a teacher, and I overheard her say to one of the kids, this was a silly answer. Why can't you give me a smart answer? And that was like, it rubbed me the wrong way. I was like, that was not the right thing to say. So it's sometimes really hard, because if I do hypnotherapy. I'm very aware of the power of words. Words are like spells, and I don't know if like I can have a conversation with that teacher, and like how can I convey that to her without offending her? Because otherwise, she's a really great teacher. She's wonderful, and she's wonderful with the kids.
So I would just say, 95% of what you do, I'm an enthusiast. I'm inspired by.
Mm.
There's 5% that I absolutely can't tolerate.
Okay.
So now you've told her 95% of what she's doing is wonderful.
Okay, good.
And then you go, but there's 5% that I can't tolerate. So I want to communicate with you about the 5%. So if now is a good time, that's great. If you want to switch to another time, I'm good with that.
That's a great way to approach it.
But we will need to have this conversation.
Right, yeah, that's a great
And
way.
then in the midst of telling her about the 5%, which is not, we won't tolerate, you have to also give her some energy on the 95% so that she knows that, she's really appreciated.
Yeah, she's really appreciated, and she does a great job, and she's very passionate about her work. It's just that I just feel like some people are just, they're not doing it out of spite. They're just not conscious. So it's a good way to approach. It's a good way to highlight people's achievements, and then just say just the 5%, kind of like sandwich criticism.
Well, yeah, and I would also let her know that any words that are like silly or wrong or bad, any of those kinds of words are actually violent words.
Really? Okay.
And what they do, there's a whole thing called nonviolent communication.
Yes.
And what those words do is that they embarrass the child.
Right.
And that embarrassment closes the child down. So now the child is uncertain. If I do something that I don't know how to do, will it be considered silly?
Right, yes. Yes.
And if it's considered silly, will I get reprimanded for it?
Right. And also at that age they're in...
And if I get reprimanded for it,
Yeah.
will I feel this way?
Right.
Because it's a horrible feeling.
Yes. And at that age they're in theta, like they absorb everything like a sponge. You can't even say a joke, they will take everything literally. And it's there forever. Like, I'm so... You know, just knowing that the first 5 years of their lives, of the kids' lives, are so significant, makes me be like, am I gonna, like, hurt my child or say the wrong thing? I probably did. But I guess it's all perfectly imperfect, like the perfect imperfection.
Yeah, but also remember that theta, the theta state of the brain, is equally open in both directions. So that which goes in that may cause a bruise heals on its way out. Doesn't stick, doesn't stay inside.
Oh, good. Good. It's so comforting.
It's the closed mind that holds, it's the closed mind, it's the beta, super beta, and gamma brain that holds a grudge, that doesn't let go. But the alpha and theta brain, man, they are just like a sieve. Comes in, whew, makes an impression. That's why when we're in our theta state in dream time, if you don't write it down, you're not going to remember it in the morning. Because it goes right back out.
Yes.
So that's something that you should remember when you're dealing with these little theta kids. That the injury is very temporary. Now, if it's a consistent, insistent injury,
Yes, of course.
no,
Yes.
that's going to make a epigenetic impression.
Right. How do we heal our epigenetic impressions?
By forgiving, which means giving forward. Forgiving doesn't mean telling the circumstance or the person or whatever it was that caused the impression, caused the bad impression, whether it's a physical impression, an emotional or a mental impression. But what it is that the forgiveness doesn't say that was okay what happened. What it's saying is, I'm not sticking with what happened.
I like that.
I am releasing what happened, so I'm not carrying its load.
Okay.
And you, whoever you were that did it to me, or the circumstances that took that into account, deal with it as you will, but I'm good.
Right.
I'm free. I'm giving forward. Forward giving. Forgiving.
I love that. Wow. My God, it was such a beautiful conversation, and I would like to speak with you for another, at least 3 years straight. But I want to be respectful of your time. So before we say goodbye for now, what are your 3 top tips to living a stellar life, and where can people find you and join your communities?
My 3 top tips to living a stellar life is, number 1, be very deep in your forgiving experience. Don't just be off the cuff. Go into a deep state of forgiveness so that you can bring your entire being into the present moment. That none of it is back in the past where it was hurt or disappointed or even abused. None of it is back there. That you gather all of your power into the present moment. And then in the present moment, understand that with all of that power, that you'll need to practice and practice and practice, because as a powerful person now, this is the second tip, as a powerful person now, you will make mistakes. You will cause problems. So be very quick to apologize and allow that apology to be sincere. So forgiveness, apology, and then the final one is gratitude. Find one thing every day that in the midst of all that is going on, it's easy for you being the mom of a 3-year-old. Find one thing every single day that you are grateful for. And if it repeats in, day after day, then that's okay. But sometimes mix it up. Say, okay, well, I'm grateful for this, but today I'm going to choose, okay, this I'm grateful for too. So forgiveness, apology, gratitude. Those are 3 things that can enable you to be super powerful, as well as super humble,
Yes.
as well as super capable of achieving.
Beautiful.
And people can find this and everything that I do by going to gurusingh.com, and it immediately directs you to the 13 moons, and you can click to join, or you can just check it out.
Yes.
And so at gurusingh.com, I am always available through the 13 moons. And then online, we give so much away. Online, my name, so to speak, is Guru Singh Yogi. So it's all one word, Guru Singh Yogi. And it has been such a joy to be with you today.
Thank you.
I'm impressed by the choices that you're making as well.
Oh, thank you. I'm so grateful for you. It was just a pleasure. Thank you so much for being here and sharing your wisdom with us today.
Beautiful. Bless you.
Bless you. And thank you, listeners. Remember to be very deep in your forgiveness. Be quick to apologize and allow your apology to be sincere. Find one thing every day that you are grateful for and have a stellar life. This is Orion. Till next time.